Let's talk about what happened over the past few days that no one's talking about. The mainstream media is not talking about it, of course. We've gone to war again, essentially. I mean, there's no two ways around it. But the United States has launched a series of airstrikes in Somalia since President Biden took office. It's the first airstrike for him. The Pentagon confirmed this last night, saying that the strike intended to target al-Shabaab fighters who are linked to Al-Qaeda.
Do you remember that video I played not too long ago with General Wesley Clark, where he was talking about and this was back in like, I don't remember when this was, 2011, 12, something like that, where he was talking, or maybe even 2015, but he was talking about all of the places we were going to bomb, and Somalia was on that list, Iraq, Iran, like all of these places, and basically it's all happened exactly what he said. We have bombed all these places, and people don't even realize we're in most of these places.
No, I mean, and most people this morning, other than, unless you're watching our show, I mean, most people have no clue about this. The mainstream media won't cover it. And if they do cover it, they're going to make it out that, these guys deserved it. And there's nothing surprising about this at all. Nothing surprising about this is because the imperial media, CNN, always ignores the story, and they laugh it off and they make fun of it. And there's, again, that's what when we look at like CNN and MSNBC and Fox and all, they're all just imperial media. I mean, that's what they want.
Well, and around the world, we're referred to as the American Empire. I mean, that's what we are. We are the American Empire. We're not the United States. We are an empire, and we are expanding.
And the media, the media just laughs about it. The media loves it. The media, it feeds off of these airstrikes. They feed off of war. I mean, heck, CNN made its money off of war, right?
You're cracking me up.
Sorry, Brian, but it's the truth. It's the truth, Brian. I mean, that's how CNN made its money, right? I mean, look, you remember Wolf Blitzer with the things and the bombs in Iraq and all of that behind, and
it was like watching a football game. Like they had this is the fighter jet that's going to take out the Iraqi people. It's like
exactly
all hyped.
Yeah, green, like in green, like night vision goggle stuff and all that. That's how CNN made it. And so the mainstream media wants this. And if they, they're not going to paint the picture. They're not going to talk about, so Joe Biden, who says, we want peace. We're getting out of Afghanistan. We've been at war long enough. We want to bring these people home. What have we got to show for it? Intervening in other countries, the interventionists. And now we're in Somalia. We go into Kuwait. We're in Yemen. We're in Syria. Where else can we go and spend money and bomb people indiscriminately?
We have over 1,000 bases around the world.
You're cracking me up.
Sorry, Brian, it's the truth. Like, we can't call attention to that? That we have that many bases? By the way, just earlier this week, we finally have a resolution coming from Bernie Sanders and 2 Republicans. 1 Democrat, 2 Republicans are calling for a resolution saying, hey, we need to rein in these war powers of the president. We want them to be reviewed anytime we have any sort of military action. Imagine that you can't just indiscriminately bomb countries because you want to in the middle of the night. The media is pushing now also for military intervention in Cuba. I mean, the mainstream media literally pushing for intervention in Cuba. I mean, at what point, that's okay now? We can have that now where we're the mainstream media, we can get on television and we can have the mayor of Miami calling for us to go into Cuba because of what's there.
It's so hypocritical, too, because it's like, hey, the American people, we know that you're hurting. We know that there's all this stuff going on. But unfortunately, because we're going to war in all these countries, we can't afford to help you. We got Somalia, we got a bomb. We've got, we're getting ready to start something with Cuba, Venezuela. We're still messing with them over there. Like there's just Nicaragua and all these places. There's just so much going on. We're sorry. Haiti. I meant to say Haiti. We've just got all that going on. We cannot afford to help you. But we've got all this money for war.
Yeah, we always have money for war. Always have money for war. I mean, that's something we will continue to have. Always in our back pocket. Anytime, we can't pay for these things. Mitch McConnell can't support this. Joe Biden can't do $15 an hour minimum wage. But we can support war. Always.
Come on, man.
True, Joe. While they laugh at us. And we want to call attention to it. And by the way, I'll do this story and I'll have it in my headline. And you know what? YouTube will probably suppress the video because we could, that's what happens when we talk about these things. Mainstream media gets upset about it. They don't want when you watch this show, you're supporting independent journalism, calling attention to these things. Again, mainstream media was all over this. Mainstream media is like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go to war in Cuba. Let's send in. We literally on television had Miami's mayor calling for airstrikes on Cuba, and you had people going on Fox News and CNN say, yeah, we should. You know what? We got to get out let's get the fighter planes out and let's start bombing Cuba, so we can get what we want out of this, which is a regime that makes sense to us.
And what should be being contemplated right now is a coalition of potential military action in Cuba, similar to what has happened in both administrations, in both Republican and Democrat administrations. In Republican with Bush in Panama, they deposed Noriega, and that country had peaceful democracy for decades. And you had interventions by Democratic presidents, taking out Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. It's a sovereign country where they took out a terrorist that probably saved thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives, and President Clinton in Kosovo intervening in a humanitarian issue with airstrikes. So there have been many, many opportunities in the history.
Are you suggesting airstrikes in Cuba?
What I'm suggesting is that option is one that has to be explored and cannot be just simply discarded as an option that is not on the table.
Yeah.
And there's a variety of ways of.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. But we should just kill people. We should literally intervene in other countries and kill people. Yeah.
It's like what was it? Bay of Pigs? What was that called that Kennedy thwarted?
Yeah, Bay of Pigs. He carried out the Bay of Pigs invasion, which was an absolute disaster. And he listened to his military. He just was elected. He just took office. He listened to his military leaders, and he then later recounted it was my biggest mistake, my biggest regret.
But I'm talking about where the U.S. actually was going to attack its own country to blame it on Cuba, that operation or whatever it was called.
Oh, I forget the name of it. I don't know the name of it. But
and Kennedy found out about that, and he's like, "What the heck is this?"
I don't know I don't know the operation. If anyone knows the operation, let us know in the chat. But Bay of Pigs invasion.
Yeah.
Look, the media is pushing for this right now. The media is pushing for this. The mayor of Miami going on Fox, encouraging the Biden administration to consider airstrikes in Cuba. 90 miles from Miami. Let me be clear. The U.S. military intervention is never, ever, ever the solution. Ever. After Korea, after Vietnam, after Afghanistan, after Iraq, after Libya, after Syria, after Yemen, after Kuwait, ever. The facts are in, and this is case closed. The interventionists have lost this argument. You have lost this argument. Don't tell me, Mayor of Miami, that you are on the high ground here. You've lost this argument.
And all this does, people don't realize, is all this does, we say we're fighting terrorists, but at what point do we be labeled the terrorist and understand that we are creating terrorists by doing what we're doing? We're going over there. We're killing innocent people. The bombing that happened in Syria recently killed a little kid. That little kid's family is now going to be completely upset with the U.S., understandably so, and probably want to do something. So we're creating terrorists. We are terrorizing people, creating more terrorists. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And to the mayor's point that, we've created all of this peace, and we went into Pakistan. Look at all of the people that were killed as a result of us trying to get Osama bin Laden. And the reason Osama bin Laden created and attacked us in the first place is because we had military bases in Saudi Arabia. Literally what they said. Get out of our country. Stop meddling in our country. So we can't do that. We can't remove our military bases from countries all around the world. We can't do that. We can spend billions of dollars on that. We can't take care of our own people in the United States. We can't provide health care. We can't provide a living wage for Americans, but we can absolutely set up 900 military bases around the world and kill people indiscriminately. But the mainstream media won't cover it. The mainstream media will laugh it off and won't cover it.
And if they do cover it,
You're cracking me up.
if they do cover it, they just push for it. They got to figure out how what's our weapon of mass destruction? What's our secret powder or whatever that was? What was not iocane powder, but the little vial that Colin Powell, they got to find that little thing that gets us all on board. They're like, we got to do this. We got to do this to Cuba. They're socialists.
They're socialists. I mean, interventionists have lost this argument. It's never worked. And, people were always going to argue. They say, well, what about World War II, Clayton? You're wrong. And first of all, I love that argument, right? First of all, that we weren't interventionists in World War II. We were attacked, okay? We were attacked. And we were defending ourselves during World War II. That was not interventionism. And by the way, I love the idea that we literally have to go back to 1941 in order to find an example that supports your argument that we should be going into countries willy-nilly. No, we were attacked and we were defending ourselves against two imperial powers, right? We were attacked by the Japanese and we were declared war upon by Nazi Germany and attacked off the coast of New Jersey, and we went to war. And to defend ourselves. What happens after that, of course, is the mess that we get ourselves into. And Dwight Eisenhower warning us all about that, right? The military-industrial complex. As he was leaving office, here's the U.S. Allied Supreme Commander who led our forces on D-Day, telling us we need to rein this in. We do not need a massive standing military.
Well, and it's supposed to be a defensive military, not an offensive. And that's all we are, is offensive, because we have so much money that we have to throw into it. And just like that general said, when you're a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail, because you have to they have to justify that budget. They have to go to war.
Mm-hmm. Always. Yeah, you have to do that. That's part of it. Max Abrams says, I actually thought America had been making progress in terms of learning the perils of excessive meddling in the international political affairs of other countries. And now I see loads of opinion makers saying it's so obvious that we need to topple the Cuban government and put in one that we like. It wasn't just the Miami mayor. I mean, this is absurd.
They were doing the same thing with Venezuela. Like how, look how many people backed Juan Guaido, which was not a legitimate thing.
Yeah. But this is, and all of these politicians, they just line up. They don't care. They don't care. They want to make sure that we're spending the money. They want to make sure that we're lining the pockets of defense contractors. They don't care.